Hello and welcome to my easy to understand guide to his dark materials and media language. This video is going to be particularly relevant for you for those of you studying AQA GCSE media studies, as it's currently a set text on that spec. The genre of this series falls clearly into the fantasy category. And you can see this evident throughout the set episode, which is series 2, episode 1. There's lots of fantasy-based settings and scenery, caves, forests, lots of CGI. There's epic landscapes and magical creatures that talk. There's witches. And the soundtrack as well helps to add this element of magical mystery to that fantasy genre. One of the main themes within the set episode is political corruption. This idea that some people have power and some people don't, and the people who have power often use it for bad things. So you can see the cardinals and the amount of power they have within their religion, the use of torture to control and manipulate people. The lighting in the episode is used to connote meaning and create atmosphere. So we often see very dark, moody lighting to try and create this idea of tension and fear within the audience. And then in the more positive, upbeat scenes, we have this much higher key light to make settings feel a little bit more hopeful. When they're exploring the city, it's very overgrown, it's very dusty, it's very run down. It makes it feel very isolated and it makes it feel very odd. We're not used to seeing somewhere so big with so many buildings be so empty. So this creates mystery for the audience. There are different narrative strands within the episode, so different parts of different stories for audiences to follow. One narrative strand follows Lyra and Will exploring the city. There's another narrative strand that covers Mrs. Coulter. There's a narrative strand where Lee discovers the object that he hopes is going to protect Lyra. There's the narrative strand with the witches. The main narrative strand is Lyra being on a kind of hero's quest. And there's lots of narrative enigma in the episode, things that aren't quite clear yet. And the audience have to watch on, hopefully till the next episode, to find out the answers. So for example, why is this city abandoned? Why is it so empty? That's not really explained yet in this episode. What is the prophecy that people keep talking about? Why is Lyra important? Is she important? And all of these enigmas are going to keep an audience watching to find out the answers. The narrative ends with a cliffhanger, so something that is not answered, we don't know what's going to happen, and we have to watch on to the next episode. So for example, we have this quite odd scene with this creature and Will. So the idea is that this kind of narrative cliffhanger will hopefully be answered at some point within the rest of the series. We have some quite archetypal characters within the narrative as well. So Lyra kind of plays our hero character. And we have Will as her kind of sidekick or helper. Will could be considered a secondary hero within this narrative too. And we definitely have some villains in the form of Mrs. Coulter and the Cardinals. The demons, the talking animals, they also provide these kind of sidekick type characters that are there to help the main characters on their journey. And these archetypal characters help to make the narrative easy for an audience to understand. There are some binary opposites within this episode as well. So you obviously have sort of the children versus the adults, or Will and Lyra versus these kind of other villainous characters. But also within Will and Lyra, they're binary opposites in themselves. They don't understand each other. They're very different. She's very kind of independent, doesn't really want or need any help, whereas Will is a lot more caring and emotional and much more domestic. So quite different characters, which creates these kind of conflicts within these oppositions and makes it quite exciting and funny. We also have the city versus the magisterium, which again, very different, very oppositional. The poorer working classes versus these much richer, corrupted cardinals. The editing as well, we often get cross-cutting. We cut between the kind of more realistic world in the city and a more magical world in the magisterium or other locations. And this cross-cutting backwards and forwards, it kind of helps to add to this contrast between the two places and the different characters. But it also helps to ground us in reality. And the overall opposition is good versus evil. There is a use of a voiceover within the set episode, and this voiceover helps to set context for an audience. It gives us a little bit of an introduction as to what's going on, and it helps to give us a little bit of information about what's happened before this. You can tell a lot about the characters from their costumes. So for example, Lyra is wearing this jumpsuit. It's quite utilitarian and quite practical. It's not revealing, it's not sexualized. It clearly makes her seem like somebody who's a very practical, independent person. She's ready for action. But it also makes her seem quite working class and down to earth. The Cardinals wear these long robes and they have chains, and it makes them feel very powerful, very dominant, and as though, other people respect them. And the dark colours of these robes add to this feeling that they're not good people. Mrs. Coulter's red dress makes her seem, again, very powerful and dominant, but it's much more feminine and delicate. So perhaps makes her seem like she's a bit more of a villain. And the red colour adds this sense of danger as well. And it clearly sets her apart from the Cardinals. It makes her seem different and special in some way. The witches wear feathers in their hair, and their bodices have silver feather-shaped items on them in these windswept scenes, and all of this connotes their link to birds. There's the use of different words, actual verbal language that the characters use that are unfamiliar to a lot of audiences. So for example, they talk about things like dust, demons, sin, and spectres. And these words have to be explained at some point by different characters along the way. And that again adds to this feeling that this is set in a fantasy world different to our own. And the dialogue the characters have between each other helps to explain all of these unusual elements to an audience. I noticed when watching this that there are a huge number of scenes that show images of stairs and steps going in a variety of directions. This seems to be a common theme in the series. This could represent the different journeys that the characters have to go on throughout the narrative, but it could also represent the fact that this series is going to explore multiple parallel worlds, all going in different directions. We see the gold object in the extreme foreground. Gold obviously makes something seem very important, very special, and being so close to the camera makes it feel very important too. And we get lots of extreme close-ups on things like cogs, runes, and symbols. And this adds to this sense of this object being quite special, quite mysterious, and quite strange. So that was my easy to understand guide to media language in His Dark Materials. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for other videos that are going to be relevant for you. And if you would like a video that I don't already have, leave a little comment below and I'll see what I can do.